Hello, so today we are going to make another video about CSS grids, especially CSS grid as it is complex for some. Today we'll be explaining in the most simpler form that I know. Okay, so what happens is that this is a simple basic container which has six elements, right? So these six elements are written in a div. So we are going to make a grid out of this all six elements. So let us start. The first thing to be known is this. So that inside of the grid element, we can say grid template columns. This will tell how many columns we want. We can determine that by giving an input of the number of columns. See, let's say first column I want of 100 pixels, and the second column I want of 100 pixels, and the third column I want of 100 pixels. All right. So this has given the column size. Okay. So each of the column, three columns are 100 pixels each size. Secondly, we can also give this for the row as well. Grid template row. Okay, so inside of this, if I say I want 200 pixels of row, so the 200 pixel for first, the first row is of 200 pixel. The second row, let's say I want of 100 pixels. So this is given in this manner such that there are three columns and two rows. Okay, if I want, I can also give another row, but will not be displayed. If you can tell me the reason why, that will be very great. So that the thing is that all the six elements that I have inside of my div, they are being used up into this two by two cross three matrix that we have, two rows and three columns. They are all getting used up. If I say if I put another elements, then I will be getting it. But let's for the sake of this video, let's keep it to this. So this is how we determine that I want three columns, okay, the 100 pixels each. I can also give one fragment size of it. So what happens is that the 100 pixels are given to the first and the second column respectively, and the fragment is calculated accordingly. That is a complex mathematics. We can get to know that sometime later. We can also continue doing it in a manner that I can remove the 10 pixel size. Also, I can give each of this column per individual size. So this is going to be two fragments, and I want it to be of one fragment. Now what has happened is that okay, the size of 1 and 4 is the column size is going to be of one fragment. The 2 5 in this column is going to be two fragment, and this is also the two fragment size. Now the thing that we can also do is that the giving this instead of individual values, we can do one thing, is that in here we are back to where we were in the beginning. Grid template rows. Inside of this, I can use min max. What does it do is that it we have to provide two values to it. The first one will be the minimum value that it will use, and the other one will be the maximum. So let's say for our columns, for the min max, I want the column size of 100 pixels the minimum, and maximum I can give it 500 pixels, 400 pixels as well. So what has happened is that the each column is 100 pixels each, 100 pixels minimum, and at max it cannot exceed 400. The first column. The second, I want it to be 200 pixels. Fine. So what has happened is the maximum 400 pixels has might be reached or might not be reached. Let's say. See, now what has happened? The size is 200 columns, 200 pixels, as we have given the maximum value to be 200, and the second one is of 300 pixels. If I also put it down to 200, so what has happened? Each column is 200 pixels each because the maximum we have reached is 200 pixels. So we will try to reach to that value. Okay, that is the column for column grid template row min max. I can use that again for the rows as well. So I want the first row to be of 30 pixels to be minimum and 60 pixels maximum. Okay, so this has happened for the first row. Second row I want of 100 pixels, and the finally auto. Whatever the size is left is given to the third row. Third row has 5 and 6 elements. Okay. Now there is another way of doing this grid templates column, where we can say grid template row is repeat. On repeat, I want four rows, and I want 100 pixels each. Okay, so this has created four rows and 100 pixels each. The fifth and the sixth element are left behind because we have four row. But once we start defining column, it will also be taken care of. Grid template column repeat. Inside of this, what do we have? We have e comma one fragment. So what is the total thing? We have three columns with one fragment size individual. So we can use the repeat keyword in order to generate this row and column arrangement. Okay, let us go back to where we were previously. Now let's say if I want, I can just make a 2 by 2 matrix. So grid template row, I want it to be of 100 pixels and 100 pixels was two rows, and grid template column I want of 100 pixels and 100 pixels. So what has come out is to be uh, two columns and three rows. Okay, why three? Because uh, we have six elements, right? So if I generate another 100 pixels, so we will have three columns and two rows. That is much better, I guess. So inside of this, I also want that this template should have gap in between. So the it's not very visible to see the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So grid row gap row grid row gap. So this is of 10 pixels I want, and I also want the column gap to be of 10 pixels each. So now we have this matrix where we can generate a gap. Also, there is another way of generating gap, that is 2 RAM. If I just say 2 RAM, then it generates a RAM 2. It doesn't necessarily have to be RAM. It can be pixels as well. So each row and column has a gap of that particular size. Now we can say, where do I want to position the one? I might be in the condition where I do not want the one to be here. I want the one to, let's say, the position of 5. So what is our task? Our task is we want the position of 1 at 5. In the current scenario, we want it to be 5. So what can we do? We say that grid row start. Okay, grid row start. I want it to be the row is going to be 2, and I want the grid column start to be also 2. Okay, then uh, I will say that a grid row end to be 2, 3 I guess, as we have one column for one column of row, and similarly grid column end to be also 3. Let's say what have we done? We have given the where we have this values, right? Let's copy this and paste it right below. So for ID 1, I want ID 1, so dot 1. Okay, this will not work. Just to wait for a second. So I've made just a few simple changes where I have written the individual word instead of the letter. So instead of 1, I want to paste these changes down. So what has this done is this. Yeah, so I figured it out. It is a very silly mistake. I have given this ID and have to use hash instead of dot for class. Okay, so we made this grid, and I copied and pasted this. So a goal or objective was to put it on the position 5. So now there is a tube. So that is how we change the size of it. You can also say that I want the row to start at 2, but I want the row to end at 3. Instead of 3, I want it to end at 4. So we have one another size. Let's say if I wanted to end at 5. So we are increasing the number of rows inside of it. And similarly, we can say column and to be at 5 as well. So now we have increased the column size in such that we have five width of size for the column. So that is how we play with it. This is the first part. The next two later parts will be given very shortly.